you guys? A long time no see. I think it's been about a month. So this video is going to be a weight loss update and kind of where I've been for a while. So if this isn't your type of video, if you're more into the unboxings or what it's like living in the South, then you probably want to skip past this video and wait for my next one. I think I've got an unboxing coming soon, so you can go ahead and check on out. But if you are interested in my weight loss journey, there's been several, then this is the video for you. So let's get started. Okay, so as you know, since I've been living in the South, I've been living my best fat life. Yes, there's like way too much good food here, and so it's been really tough since living here, just eating all the good stuff and then trying to keep the weight off. So it definitely crept up. I put on everything that I lost while I was living in California and then some. So let's start where I began and then we'll go from there so I can kind of tell you what I've gone through and some of the things that I've experienced that were not helpful in this journey. So my son and I went on a trip. We went to Pigeon Forge, and while we were there, we went horseback riding, and they decided that, well, not that they decided, they do it every time when you do the horseback riding. At the beginning, they'll take a picture of you on your horse, and then you begin your trek up the mountain, the Smoky Mountains. So at the end, they of course sell you these pictures. Now, let me tell you, I know that I put on weight and I know that I was not looking like how I looked in California. But sometimes when you only take pictures from this point on, you can kind of trick your mind into thinking it's not that bad. But I took this picture and I just was like, oh my God, I didn't even want to buy it, but I wanted the picture of my son and they kind of sold them as a package. So I bought both of them, but maybe it's a good thing that I do have it because it's also something that I can refer back to once I do meet my goal. Let's hope this time around I meet my goal. And so I'm just kind of, I was just more in shock of where I was. I knew that I put on weight. I knew that it wasn't good, but I didn't think that it had gotten that bad. And of course, you know, when you're on a horse, you're kind of, you know, and I wasn't really sitting up. My posture wasn't great. So it made it like 20,000 times worse. Because you know the little tricks, ladies, where you can kind of move your arms out or you can do certain things to kind of make yourself appear a little slimmer. And so this is one of those things where I was kind of slouchy and it just made it that much worse. And I was wearing a hoodie, so that adds even more. So it wasn't a good feeling. So right after that, I got back from the trip and I had put on an additional 6 pounds weight on a trip. But I don't really get too upset about those pounds whenever I take like a vacation or something, because usually if you work pretty hard right after, you can take that weight off pretty quickly. So I decided I wanted to do something, and I had kept seeing like ads on everything for Contrave, and I thought, maybe I have like an addiction to food. Maybe it is an addiction. I've kind of always felt that way just because of growing up and the food availability in my household and stuff like that when I was younger. And so I do think there is some issues with my how I feel about food. I know it's not completely healthy. So I thought, okay, Contrave it's not like phentermine or one of those types of drugs where you get like that upper feeling. It's more you don't get any type of like high from it. Like there's no upper to it to give you energy or make you feel jittery. What it is it's an antidepressant. I think it's Wellbutrin if I remember. And then an anti-opioid drug, which is, I think it's naproxen or something like that. Basically, the naproxen is for opioid addicts, people that are like on methadone and fentanyl and all these really terrible drugs, these hardcore painkiller drugs and things like that. So they give you this drug to like help you get off the drug. You have to be off the drug because you can actually overdose if you take that drug. After I read about it, because what it does is it blocks the high from the opioids, so they don't get that feeling, that rush of high from the opioids, so they're less likely to take the opioids. But then at the same time, you can overdose. Anyway, so that's what they put it with, and then the antidepressant Wellbutrin, which I didn't quite understand how that would relate to dieting, but maybe because you get like a high from eating, you do get a little bit of a high. I know when I eat like a really good meal, I'm like, oh, I feel so happy in the moment. Like if you get a really good piece of cake or something like that, you do feel like really good in that moment, and then you get on the scale and you're like, why did I do that to myself? Because I know this is going to take me forever to get back off. But so I decided to take this drug, and as soon as I started taking it, you start like 1 pill, and then you get past a week, and then you take 2 pills, and then 3 weeks you take 3 pills, and then you max out at 4 pills at the 4th week. And I took this for a total of, I believe I gave it almost 3 months before I got off of it. And I'm just going to give my experience with this drug, because I think, I don't know, it's important, especially if you're like looking for something that might help you along the way. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with trying to find help in some sort of way. And so I took the drug, and immediately when you take your first pill, you feel sick. You feel like you're literally vomiting and stuff. I would get dry heaves. I would just be sick. The whole time I was on this drug, I was nauseous the whole time. But you think, all right, I'm going to see like some major changes on the scale just because you don't really want to eat. But the thing is that my normal lifestyle, I don't eat a ton of calories. I do eat bad when I do eat my calories, and there are definitely days where I eat a lot in one day. But for the most part, I don't eat a ton of calories. I have a problem where I've just screwed up my metabolism. So I don't lose weight as easily as everyone else, because I've learned to like starve myself at a young age so I could drop weight for certain things that I needed to do for work and stuff like that. So I always felt this nauseous feeling, and you get these immense headaches where they're just like debilitating. Like you cannot get out of bed. It's such a terrible, you feel like you have a tumor. I mean, honestly and truly, it's not like a migraine. It's way worse, at least in my experience. And the other thing that was the reason why I completely got off of it, I kept trying to deal with the headaches, and I kept trying to deal with everything else, because I did stop gaining. So I was happy about that. But the only weight loss that I lost during that was my vacation weight loss, which I should have been able to take off in a normal diet. So my biggest side effect though was I kept smelling what smelled like smoke in my house, like old cigarette smoke, which I don't smoke, but my mom smokes, so I know that smell very well, and it was constantly in my nose, and it was driving me, it was really driving me insane, because I keep smelling it, and I thought, did somebody smoke in this house before us? And I kept asking my husband if he smelt it. I asked my son if he smelt it, and everybody's like looking at me like I'm crazy. And then I told the doctor, I smell old cigarette smoke, and they're like, whatever. They kind of just ignored my feelings about it. And then, of course, when you don't get answers, you go on the old Google, and why do I smell? And then, of course, the thing that shows up is, you may have a tumor or brain cancer. And I'm like, why do I have these headaches? I started freaking out. So I got off of it. I don't think that I got a tumor from the medication, but that's a really odd side effect. And I looked to see if anybody else was having that side effect, and nobody was. So I got off of it. It just wasn't worth it to me. I wasn't dropping weight. Like I said, the only thing that I lost was the 6 pounds that I put on my vacation. And it just wasn't enough of, I didn't feel like it was helping me with an addiction problem towards food or anything like that. So I don't know exactly, I think I just eat food to eat it. I don't know if it's necessarily an addiction, but I think that I get these feelings where I might not have another meal just because of how I grew up in my childhood. And I've learned to kind of address that, but it just kind of follows you constantly. So that was my experience with Contrave. So I really didn't lose any weight during that time. So I finally decided, all right, we just got to get to working out, because I wasn't really working out. I was watching my calories, but I wasn't really working out. So I decided, okay, I got to get off my butt. I have to start working out, and I have to start walking and making sure that I get at least 10,000 steps in a day. So I purchased the Versa Fitbit, which I think I might actually do kind of a review over this because it's pretty awesome, especially if you're going back and forth between the Apple Watch and other fitness trackers. It depends on what you are looking for out of your Apple Watch, but you may find this one to be a much closer match to you because it does a lot of the things that the Apple Watch does, and it's a lot cheaper. Anyway, so I decided to take complete accountability. I log my food, I log my water intake, it even keeps track of your menstrual cycle and different things like that. And I was just logging everything, my workouts and my walking, and just really trying to take accountability in everything that I was doing. Part of my issue also is I do have a thyroid issue, so that's always kind of a factor with me, and it doesn't make it impossible to lose weight, but it definitely makes it harder. So you do have to work usually twice as hard as someone next to you, because you know, I have friends and they like drop weight a lot faster than I do, and it really is a struggle. The other things that I found out was, and you know, I'll get into that in just a minute. Let me just keep going. So I started taking off the weight slowly. So right now I'm gonna say I'm at 25 pounds lost. Now I'm not counting the 6 pounds from my vacation because I really think that comes off really quickly, and so I'm not going to give myself really that much credit for it. Plus, it wasn't when I was really being accountable and really trying to take control of what I was doing. What I have been doing that's really helped me personally is I've been doing intermittent fasting, and that's with calorie counting. Now, a lot of people will do it with keto, but I'm just not ready to go there. I like carbs, and that's really hard for me to give up. So I'm not ready to go into the keto. I might when I get closer to my goal if I'm looking to take off that like last 5-10 pounds. But I really have another 30 pounds I'd like to lose. So I'm not ready to go that drastic until I, you know, kind of stall. So I've been doing intermittent fasting. So what I do is I stop eating at 7 p.m. at night, and then I don't eat again until 1 p.m. the next day. And then I also work out before I break my fast. So what it basically means is, if you've never heard of intermittent fasting, is your body has to work off of what it has on reserve at the current moment before you start eating again. So you burn more fat, you're more likely to burn more calories, and also it has anti-aging properties in it, which helps, you know, with elasticity and things like that. So that really excited me because as a female in my 40s, now I'm trying to, you know, try to keep the wrinkles as least as possible. They're creeping in faster and faster the older I get. So I like that property too. And I did notice like my skin is less dry. I have noticed changes over these last several months. So I've been doing that. One thing that I'm thinking about adding is carb cycling, and you can kind of look that up, but basically you go a couple of days where you cut your carbs to very little, and it's like specific types of carbs, and you can have a higher count of fat, and then you go to your high carb days where you eat like higher carbs, but there are specific carbs like bananas and things like that where you get a higher carb count. You still have to be kind of careful in what you're eating because you want to put healthy things in your body. It doesn't mean eat chocolate cake and stuff like that. Although I don't deprive myself of anything, I just eat it in smaller amounts and a lot less often. So I'll kind of give myself like a little treat here and there. That way I'm not feeling like I'm on a punishment diet. I really want to try to keep this going as long as possible and make it as enjoyable as possible because it's a longer journey for me. And so I don't want to deprive myself, but I do know that I have to set limits and how often I can have it. So that's where I'm at, and I think I'm going to start the carb cycling maybe next month. I'm going to give myself another month on this. I want to get as close as possible. People that typically do the carb cycling are people like bodybuilders and things like that when they really want to get cut. So I'm a little concerned I might have to go back and forth with just only doing intermittent cycling and then add carb cycling and then get off of it for a little while and then go back on it, because it's more of a short term type of thing. So I know it won't last for this whole 30 pounds that I want to lose. So I didn't really want to talk about this until I lost a good amount of weight, because I tend to jinx myself or set myself up for failure, and so I wanted a really good leap. I don't know when I'll do my next update video because I don't want to put pressure on myself. I notice when I put pressure on myself, I tend to not lose, or I set myself up, or I end up cheating too much, or I do things that are not healthy for me, because I get like this obsession about it, and then I end up feeling it like a failure, and then I go backwards. So I don't know when I'll do my next update. But one thing I wanted to talk about, because as females, and this is, if you're a male, this you might want to go ahead and click out. There are some things that I did notice that may happen to you, and I wanted to share it because you might not realize this might be your problem. The one good thing about the Fitbit is that it does keep track of like your fertile window, and then also when you're going to start your period, which is really nice, because I'm always like, when did I have it last? I'm really bad about remembering dates and stuff. But what I noticed is over these last several months is that when I'm ovulating, I plateau. And that's usually when I'm dieting and I get really upset because the scale's not moving, and then that's when I go cheat or I do something because I'm like, well, what's the point anyway? But it started like keeping track of things, and I started seeing a pattern on there, and I noticed that I will plateau. I will not lose any weight while I'm during that fertile portion, which is, I believe, 8 or 9, I don't remember now, 8 or 9 days. I won't lose any weight during that time. I won't lose anything. I might even gain a pound during that time. And then my menstrual cycle, I typically will go up a little while I'm on my menstrual cycle. But what I like to call it is almost like a swoosh. So I won't lose any weight during that time, and then all of a sudden I'll lose like 3 pounds finally. And it just comes like right after that, because your fertile cycle is like, what, a week after your menstrual, so I might lose like a pound in there, and then the bulk of it is right after ovulation and then right before my menstrual cycle, and then I'll climb up a couple pounds, and then I'll take that off, maybe plus another pound. So I've noticed that this is what's going on with me. So I wanted to tell you females that, because if you feel like I'm doing everything right, I'm counting my calories, I'm working out, I'm doing all these things, why is the scale not moving? I'm doing it, what's wrong with me? There might not be anything necessarily wrong with you. It might be you have kind of the same issues as I'm having, where, when you're in that fertile window, your body, I don't know if it's preparing for a baby or what it's doing, but for me personally, I don't lose weight during that time. So I just wanted to point that out to you, because if you're struggling and you're like, I don't understand, what am I doing wrong? That may be why. Another thing that I found out is I was trying to really cut calories to the point where it wasn't healthy, because I wanted to lose a lot of weight, and I noticed the scale stopped moving for that too. So, you have to keep within a certain amount of calories, because what it will do is it'll ruin your metabolism, and that's what's happened to me over the years anyway. So I had to work that out. I had to kind of reset my metabolism to kind of get it to start working with me again. And so you can look up ways to restart your metabolism. There's tons of articles and suggestions on how you can do that, and it's a hard process because you do gain weight while you're resetting it, and it's kind of depressing while you're going through that. But that was one thing that I had to work on too, was resetting my metabolism, because it was just so bad from just basically almost anorexic tendencies, because I was going to like 600 to 800 calories. And that's just what I did. I would do that and I'd drop a bunch of weight, and then I'd be able to do certain jobs that I was trying to get and things like that. And so it was just a very unhealthy habit, and what it's done is it's destroyed my metabolism along the way. So, you can restart it and you can reset it, and so I want to encourage you to look into that. If you've been one of those people where you've just dropped too many calories and you've kind of ruined the way your body is losing weight, you might look into that, because even though you will gain weight while you try to reset it, it's probably the best thing you can do for yourself. Otherwise, it's going to be a constant battle. The other thing that I'm trying to do this time is I know how to get skinny fat. I know how to do that. But the problem is you still have loose skin, you don't look fit, you don't have a lot of abs, your legs don't look great. And so this time around, I'm really trying to add weightlifting and things like that, which is hard because you can gain a little weight from that too, or the scale won't move because you are putting on a little bit of muscle. And so when you haven't worked out at all and you don't use weights, it's inevitable that you're going to put on a little bit of weight from that too. So it's been a struggle. It's been all year that I've been going through this, and it's been a hard process, but I am down 25 pounds. As like I said, I'm not adding that 5 or the 6 pounds because I just don't count it, but I'm pretty proud of myself. I took a picture of myself when I first began, and then I took another picture of myself, and I'm at that point right now where I feel like I look fatter than when I started, and it's because I'm losing so much. I have such a long way to go. It's not like 5 or 10 pounds. My skin is a little like loose, especially because I'm 40 years old, and so things look a little droopier on me, so I feel like I look worse, but I know it's part of the process. And so I will do a picture to kind of show you where I began, which is just the saddest thing, and then kind of where I am. But I looked at a picture and I'm like, I don't even see that I've lost 25 pounds. I just look terrible, but I know I have to trust the process and I have to get through it, and then eventually I'll be able to see some results. So right now I'm just laying low because if I showed you a picture, you'd go, well, I don't see any changes. So I'll save that. But I will show that picture at 25 pounds. When I get to where I'm going, and I really, really want to try to stick to it this time, I do want to show those pictures. It's humiliating, but it's also something to be proud of because it's quite the journey and it's really hard, and there's so much good food around here, and I've been staying away from fried foods and things like that, just because I know it's kind of a slippery slope with me. I can't go too far. You know, I'll give myself a little sweets here and there, but I try to keep, for the most part, everything else pretty healthy because I just know myself, and I know that once I begin down that road, it's hard for me to turn back around. So that is where I am. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, wish me luck, guys. See you next time. Bye.